Cool. Well, cheers, Chris.
Cheers.
Welcome to Chasing the Sun with.
Thanks, man. Great to be here.
I suppose we better do a bit of backstory. So I met you most recently after interviewing Jess from Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds and of course the Condors at one of your nights. It's Stage Left Nights.
Yeah, so we do two kind of series of nights. So we have Stage Left Nights, which are set in my lounge in my place, where we do like these 5-course meals, because I'm very lucky my partner, she's an award-winning chef who works in like some of the top restaurants in Europe, and we have these live nights that you have dinner with like a well-known artist, and that you have 5 courses, and then after the 4th course that well-known artist pulls the chair back and plays a set for about half an hour right in front of you in touching distance, and there's only like 8 people in the room, and we've had Jess and Gavin do that, we've had Shuju the Gun did one, we had Emily Barker do one, we've got ones coming up with Abby from the Zootons. Jess is doing another one. Audrey's going to do
I want
one.
to be at the next Jess one.
Yeah, man.
I'll buy a ticket straight after.
Yeah. And so that's the Stage Left Nights, and we've got a few. John Woff from the 1975 is doing one. Mo, who is, I'm seeing him tomorrow night actually, he was Michael Jackson's keyboardist.
Yeah.
For the This Is It shows that didn't go ahead, and he was with Michael Jackson about 4 hours before Michael Jackson died.
Wow.
So half past midnight, Michael Jackson said, "Good night, God bless. Thanks for at the end of the rehearsal."
Yeah.
And like 4:30 in the morning, the ambulance was called. And he's a really interesting guy. He's played with like everyone, Stevie Wonder, and he's doing one as well. So
did you talk about that night at all?
So yes, we did. So he came on the podcast, and we've arranged to do a Stage Left Nights with him. But the Groucho night is slightly different. It's not under the name Stage Left Nights. It's actually just called Groucho Unplugged.
Yeah,
and I co-run that with a guy called James Dale, who was one of my heroes, and then became a very close friend. So he was in a band called Goldheart Assembly, who weren't that massive, but they were big enough that like they played Glastonbury and stuff like that.
Amazing.
And he ended up being like he was a hero of mine, and I wanted to do an episode of the podcast where they were breaking up.
Yeah.
Had captured their final ever performance. We did that. Got on really well, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm going to Madrid. Do you want to do some songwriting with me?" And I've been a musician and songwriter for my whole life.
Yeah.
And so we went to Madrid together, and then we were like, he was already running Groucho Unplugged, and he was like, "Why don't you get involved in it?" And I started booking acts. So people have been on the podcast like Ian Brody, Light and Seeds, Jess. Yeah. We got them involved, and so I'm just kind of involved in that night. And the Groucho's like an interesting place. It's a lot of interesting characters.
Yeah, and it's people of the arts as well, isn't it? It's a really cool venue, man. All of the art is, and it was just from beginning to end. I think who was the artist before Jess? She sung a song called "Skin on Skin." Really delicate, really. She was, I think, American artist. Got one word name.
Yeah.
She was beautiful.
Yeah. So we book in because we're doing it constantly booking artists, and we did one last week. I can't remember everyone was on the last week. That's really bad. I can't remember. But yeah.
Top at the top, isn't it, mate?
Yeah. No. So I can't remember. So I wouldn't have. The reason I can't remember the name is I didn't book that particular person in. Because I normally try and book in the headliners like Jess and Ian Brody and stuff. But it's a cool night. The Groucho's an interesting place in Soho. That it's got great history. So it's where Liam was banned from when he smashed. There's an interesting book that he was so he was in there's a famous room upstairs. Next time you're there I'll show you it, where it's called the snooker room, and it's no longer a snooker table because Liam smashed it up and Patsy, and in the way the story goes is that someone came in to try and see what was going on, to try and calm him down, and he threw a lot of snooker balls. And he got banned from there, and that room up there it's got like a little corner called Cocaine Corner, and it's got loads of so Stephen Fry has got an entire chapter of his autobiography dedicated to that room.
Amazing.
So it's got a lot of history. Visconti and Bowie used to go in there after sessions and stuff.
Wow.
And it's just every time you go in there's someone interesting. And so it's kind of a cool, interesting place, and we run last Monday of every month. We do a live night in there.
Beautiful.
So come down again.
Yeah, no, I will definitely, man. I did check out the last one. I was thinking, should I do it? It's Monday night, drinking on a school night, because I really enjoyed it, man. It was, and I was still able to, because normally when I go out, 0 to 60 in 0.3 seconds. Can't get up the next day, but I was able to function the next day. And as I said, it was a really good night. The ambience was really nice, good energy, amazing artists, and it was cool, man. And obviously we got to chat afterwards, hence why we're here today.
It's a bit of a heavy one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Struggling the next morning after that. So one of the things that's lucky about the Groucho night is that we get a tab, which we free booze for all the artists who play. But then not everybody. A lot of the artists don't drink it, so it's left over. And I have to do a DJ set.
You have to polish it off, of course.
And often it's always the red wine that's left. But by that stage, I've already had.
That's why he was handing me red wine. He's like, "Jay, finish that off."
fucking 2 bottles of red wine there. And that's my excuse, and I was fucking hungover the next day. But it was good. And Audrey turned up as well, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. That was
which
nice.
Was really nice. So it was a good night.
Cool. And this is all back of course, the Stage Left podcast. How did that come about? When did you decide I'm going to start a podcast? What was the reasons? And what was that kind of defining factor? Because I know we're in very similar industries, kind of day to day, 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, you're evidently really, really passionate about music, and that comes across all of your podcasts. Every time we spoke as well, it's just about music, the people in music, and that really comes across, that passion for what you love in your podcast. And I think when you can make a kind of living, and we'll go on to about kind of monetization, you've already kind of identified one revenue stream of being able to bring people together to enjoy that experience. Where did the podcast start?
So I've been a musician for my whole life, and I was on the cusp of doing some really, really cool things. Like singer-songwriter, I was signed to a record contract, stuff like that.
Wow.
Publishing contract, but never went anywhere. Nothing ever really to write home about. Mm-hmm. And then when the financial crash happened in 2008, I was like, I'm not going to make any money for the next few years. This is going to be bad for people. Why don't I fuck off to university? I've never been to university. None of my family have been to university.
Yeah.
I do a music degree just to have a different experience. Yeah. So I did that. First 2 years in Bournemouth, and then the course got cancelled because the coalition government had come in and stripped away the funding for the course I was on. So we all had to fuck off to somewhere else, which was I went to Brighton. Yeah. And it meant that my whole last year, all my marks kind of were on this kind of last year. Yeah. So nothing carried over. But by this stage, because I went to uni late, I went to uni between 25 and 28, because I'd had a lot of industry experience and stuff, I did reasonably. I didn't necessarily have to write new material. I was knocking out tunes that I'd written 4 or 5 years ago and getting like really good grades and stuff like that. And then, but it bugged me why I never made it. I was like,
really?
why didn't I make it?
Yeah. And then, what was the defining factor? Why did it happen to some people? Why does it not happen to you?
So and I kind of wanted the podcast kind of helped me understand that, which was really, really therapeutic. And I'll come to why that was in a minute, actually. But where the podcast really came about is that when I was that bit older in Brighton, at say 28, I was teaching at I was attending at a place called BIM, which I now do some work for, actually. And I got on better with the tutors than the students who were 19, 20, because I was like 28, because they happened to be in a lot of bands that I grew up liking. So like one of my main tutors, a guy called John Stewart, is a great influence on me, and he was in a band called Sleeper. Yep. Yeah, Jake Shillingford from My Life Story, but yeah, just people from bands that I'd kind of grown up in the 90s. Go in the pub with them, and then Jake, after like 3 or 4 pints, was like, oh yeah, like my band were the only band to open for Oasis. Oasis opened for my band and stuff. Oh wow! And he was like halfway through the series of 8 dates, we started realising that more people were there for the support band to see Oasis than them, and they had to flip it halfway through. And I'm like, mate, it's amazing. And he was like, yeah, and then we supported Stone Roses in Japan. I was like, like someone needs to tell your story. Just because you aren't, and Jake's done some really cool stuff. But I was like, someone needs to tell your story. And then what then happened was the arts funding in the UK was ripped out. And tuition fees went up. And I started noticing there was great artists who were influenced on me, like Bowie, Tom York, people like that, who had got free education and wisdom, if you like, for free in the arts, who went on and did great stuff, and thought, well, there might be people who slip through the net who won't get that wisdom now. So why don't I tell the story of the unsung hero behind the success, so the stage left musician, so not the front man.
And that's where the name comes from.
Exactly.
Amazing.
And also a big Noel Gallagher fan.
Of course.
And so tell the story of the person who stage left, whilst providing free educational content for young musicians going into the industry. That's always been the mission statement. I've once or twice in the kind of 65, 70 episodes veered away from that. So like when Stuart Lee said that he was a fan of the podcast, Stuart Lee's in like my top 3 influential people of all time, and he's a comedian, I was like, right, we'll work around this, So we veered off that a couple of times, but mainly it's always the people who are kind of not necessarily in the spotlight. And what happened was So
if Noel rocks up, you're not going to go, well, actually...
Exactly.
Well, you're stage left, but Liam, you're going to have to...
And the weird thing is, I know both Noel and Liam have listened to the podcast, which is fucking insane, and lots of interesting stories around kind of the members of their bands and stuff like that, because I've had most of those, people from both sides of that.
And I think that's where I got most into it, because when I was like, holy shit, Mike Rowe, oh my god, Gem Archer, oh my god, Russ Pritchard, and I kind of started, and I was like, wow, you know.
And a lot of it's luck, because Mike Rowe was the first ever episode, and I just happened to send him a message on Facebook. So we had a mutual friend, and so we were friends on Facebook when you had like a friend being friends. And I just said I'd won tickets to go and see Noel do a sound check at the O2.
Wow.
Whilst I'm already having tickets to go and see them in Paris 2 days later, and I was like, I'm pretty much going to be like probably on the same Eurostar, like going from one venue to another, going to the sound check. I thought I'll message Mike Graham, like, see if he's up for doing it. First one. And he just replied, and he went, and Mike, I've seen Mike a number of times since then, and like I always say this to him, like I owe everything to Mikey Rowe.
Then this is where it started.
Yeah, man.
This was the catalyst. That was the first domino in the line before they all started knocking down.
Absolutely. And he said, and he went, okay, let's meet for coffee in Paris. And I was like, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not qualified. I've never
just say yes, work it out when you get there.
Yeah. And we went to Paris. We did it. He's the nicest bloke in rock by far, apart from Dave Grohl. You know, he's the nicest bloke you could possibly meet. And then I uploaded it to the internet, thinking a few of my mates will listen to it, and a few Oasis fans, and looking at the listens. It's had 47 listens and stuff. And then on the Thursday, 4 days later, I released it on the Monday, and on the Thursday, it just all these listens started happening. I was like, what the fuck's happening? And he works with someone called Sheryl Crow, who is massive in America. Like, so she, you know, like she's massive in her own right as a songwriter. But she's also got very high profile because she's been married to Lance Armstrong.
She used to be in Michael Jackson's support band as well, didn't she?
That's right. So she had listened to it, and I didn't know how to do it at this stage. Got the photo of me and Mikey from the SoundCloud, which is what I was using at the time, as the play button, and put it in a tweet and on a Facebook and shared it to 1.6 million people.
Wow.
4 days after I started the podcast.
Amazing.
And I was like, fuck, I do not want to.
Right place at the right time. That was just like.
And she said in a tweet, this is great if you listen to my old friend, watch out for bad language in it, because I saw it a few times. So sorry for people listening to it.
Fuck off at the same time.
I'm from Romford, I can't get out of the veins. And then from there, I mean, probably what you'll have now, you have Jess on, is that you can then start saying so in your kind of sales pitch to people then you go to, is you say, okay, so this was recorded and was shared to 1.6 million people by Sheryl Crow, and it was recorded the week that Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds were #1 in the UK charts in Paris. Would you like to come on? Wow. You send that to enough people, then people will go, yeah, of course, especially given they're stage left musicians, and actually not many people ask them.
They want to know their story rather than the star itself. So sounds like as you're saying, the unsung heroes, you know, the real kind of backbone behind the kind of scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. And then from there we had Lawrence Juba, who was Paul McCartney's guitarist and Wings, and he's won a couple of Grammys. And then off the back of that, this is the payment that comes from podcasts, which is people don't make much money from podcasts at all, and that goes to the very top. But the payment is things like Lawrence Juba played on my record, double Grammy winner for free, just on my record, played guitar parts, and he's absolute legend. Shane Keister, Elvis Presley's pianist, played with the King, is playing a C3 organ in Nashville for free, just as a thank you for being on the podcast. And lots of things like that have kind of come from it, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
And it's taken you around the world as well. You've been to Paris. Have you been? And where else did you go? You said Barcelona.
So Barcelona was good. So that was to interview Dan McDougall, who is Liam's drummer and plays quite a significant role in Liam's band. So I think a lot of Liam's band get a little bit of stick, and the band are aware of that, unfortunately. But
Oasis is a tough act to follow, isn't it?
They are. But Dan, for instance, he's an incredible songwriter. So the reason is in Liam's band is that he was the person who was chosen to bring Liam's songs to life from the demos, because he plays every instrument going, and is an amazing songwriter, and is an amazing musician. And in many ways, I think Dan not could take or leave being with Liam, but he's got plenty of other things that he's got on the horizon. He's not kind of like, oh my god, I've got this dream gig. He's an amazing drummer, and in fact he's an amazing drummer, but that's probably not his main string to his bow. He's just great. He plays everything. So we did that, and I'd had a really heavy night out the night before in Barcelona. And when we did the interview, I'd lost my voice, and it's really shocking to listen to. And I completely lost my voice, and he was kind of nursing me through it. He had to do most of the talking, which is the way it should be. That was pretty cool. And I guess kind of the funny story about travelling was Rome. So Russ had this is a bit of an insane story, so stick with me on this. But so Russ arranged. Noel was supporting U2 in Rome, and Russ arranged for us to get on the guest list through Noel. We're the only people on the guest list, which is very, very special, but it's quite a rigorous process to get onto U2's guest list, and you have to fill in forms and everything. And so, we go out there, me and my best mate Steve, and we're like, I prepared for this interview so much. He was obviously in the Zoot on, so he co-wrote Valerie and stuff.
Yeah, I saw him at Brixton, and we had some mutual friends, and we hung out with him.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
He's
they're
super
people.
cool, really lovely human being.
So we get there, and we're staying right by the Spanish Steps. You've been to Rome before?
No, I haven't.
Go there. It's my favourite city in Europe. And get there, and someone on the Spanish Steps, it was like fate, was playing Valerie. Right?
Wow.
And I was like, so I went up to her and I was like, I'm interviewing the person who kind of co-wrote this in the morning. Any questions? And just straight away she was like, through broken like Italian language, she was like, just like, oh, so why did Amy Winehouse do this? It's like, no, it's nothing to do with Amy Winehouse. This is predated. Anyway, we go to, this is probably the most, if I ever say to people, was best day of my life and the worst day of my life, it was that day. And that's no exaggeration. This is going to go down an interesting web where we can go to.
Okay,
So,
I felt I need another glass of this.
Yeah, you do.
You want to top up?
Yeah, go on then. So, I go to, I'm with my best mate Steve, and we've been in bands for years and done some really cool stuff, and we never quite made it. And we have this manager called Joel who did everything for us. He paid for us, he basically gave us a wage to be in a band and recorded like in St John's Wood at his home studios and stuff, and he gave us amazing guitars and all this kind of stuff. And we kind of owed everything to him in many ways. I go to interview Russ at this amazing hotel that they're staying at. Fucking amazing place with U2. We do the interview, get on like house on fire, do a fantastic interview, do a video outside, and then he's like, oh, Mikey wants to see you. He wants to catch up. I'm like,
nice.
Yeah, go on, thanks.
Still a bit warm.
So he's like,
Right, one or you want two?
Yeah, we'll two there, thanks. Thank you very much.
No drama.
So, Russ goes, okay, Mikey wants to see you outside, and like just to catch up. Come down by the pool with us. And I'm like, fucking hell, this is great. But because the interview was about like 1 o'clock and I was a bit nervous before the interview, I hadn't eaten anything in the morning. I was like, look, let me get something to eat by the pool and I'll come over to Mikey. So sitting there with best mate Steve, like literally my best man, who's when I got married and like just the closest mate, been in the bands for years, we've written together.
Yeah.
One of his heroes is Gem. And we're sat there and I get a message on Facebook Messenger saying that Joel, our manager, died.
Oh no.
I'm like, fuck. This is like moments after like a real peak. So then we're like, shit, we've got to process that. And then we looked up and Gem was sat on the next table. And I'm like, fuck, Gem's there. And Steve's like, oh my god, this is insane. Like Gem's there. Like, and then we're processing all this information at the same time. And we're kind of a bit starstruck by Gem, but we're just trying to play it cool.
Mm-hmm.
We finish what we're eating. We walk round to where Mikey is. And then Mikey, being the nicest person ever, just puts, like, it's basically talking about how great the podcast is and like just very complimentary with Russ, two of them.
Amazing.
And then Russ goes, you want to get Gem on? I'll get Gem on for you. Right, he said, watch this. So he goes up to Gem and he says to Gem, Chris, this is Gem, you've got to go, Gem, you've got to go on his podcast. And then he's going, no, I don't know what podcasts are, I don't know what blogs
he's
are
old
and stuff
school,
like that.
isn't he?
Yeah, he went, no, and I had a business card.
I remember when he joined Twitter for video, it was just a shambles.
Exactly, yeah. He said,
oh no, it was Instagram. It was like Gem Archer BE.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's not really into kind of modern kind of social media and stuff like that. So he didn't really know what podcast was. So Mikey and Russ are then selling my podcast to. I'm not having to say anything.
No, well, that's how you can tell you've got a good product when there's other people selling. You got Sheryl Crow.
Yeah, that's true.
You got Mikey and Russ.
So I said, Gem. And I told him the Tony Visconti story, which I could tell in a moment, which is essentially Bowie listened to the podcast and sent on Tony Visconti to do the only interview about how Bowie was recording Black Star before he died. And we released, I recorded New Year's Eve, we sent it to Bowie on the Wednesday, he approved it, listened to it that day, I released it the Friday, and Bowie died Sunday night. So it was the only kind of record about how he was recording Black Star, which completely made the podcast he was in.
And you think that's where Noel got the name Black Star Dancing?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think it probably was actually.
Yeah, it's got to be, because it's very Bowie-esque, isn't it?
It is Bowie-esque, yeah. So then I told that story to Gem about Visconti, and he loves Visconti because of his production and T-Rex stuff, and I think T-Rex is a big influence on heavy stereo. So Gem goes from going, no, I'm not doing it, to within 30 seconds going, I'll drive to you. I'm
wow.
Like, fucking hell, put his hand out.
Amazing.
So then we are walking away and we're flying, like we're literally like, we'll see you at the gig, we'll see Rome Olympic Stadium. We're walking away and Steve was like, my best mate Steve was like, that was like a dream, that's so mad. And then we're still processing news about Joel and stuff like that. So anyway, we then go to the stadium, go to where you pick up the guest list, and there was only 2 people on Noel's guest list, me and Steve, and we're like, how magic is this? As we're putting out the tickets, I hear Steve go, oh my god, what? Joel, our manager, he'd taken his own life. Which we didn't know about. We didn't know that he was in that state, in that place.
Yeah, shit.
And we were like, fuck. fuck. So then we're walking into the stadium, and we're like
Having
trying to
deal with
process
that.
this.
Yeah,
We
Jesus.
sit down, and they're on early because they're supporting U2, and they play this incredible set. And I don't just say it, I've seen like Gallagher Brothers play gigs, and you know, in various forms, like probably 30-40 times, and they sounded the tightest, I would say. Like it was just a really professional outfit. I think it was just after Gemma. No, hang on, let me guess right. I want to say I think it was just after Gemma joined. So it was like and Chris Sharon as well.
Yeah,
so it just sounded
yeah.
like really tight acts. Like they were just all on it. We enjoyed that. Then we were like, okay, during U2, we need to just like watch a bit of U2. We need to talk about something with Joel.
Yeah.
So we spend the evening kind of talking about Joel, reminiscing about him. We watched U2, which I'm not a big fan of them, but it was an incredible show. It was the
Joshua Tree.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Then, and we're like, this is the craziest day ever, the highest and the lowest you could be. Our phones run out of battery because we're taking so many photos and videos throughout the day. We go for something to eat at like 1 a.m. I get back to the hotel, plug in my phone, Steve plugs in his phone, and he goes, I've got a load of missed calls from my wife. So I check my phone, I open it up, and she had found some old messages I'd been sending to a girl, and she said, I want a divorce.
Holy shit. Fucking hell.
And
So
we
your
divorced.
band manager and the divorce.
On the same day,
On the
as
same
what
night.
was, I would still, there were times where it's like, that's
About
not my life.
business, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
so Rome's very much
What
kind
a shift. Because that was like an end of two things. However, the beginning of this podcast.
Do you know what? I didn't think of it that way, but you know, I know you're into your mental health stuff, and I
Yeah.
now deliver resilience and stress management training.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I always think of is that in the Chinese language, there's only one word for crisis and opportunity. And whenever there is a crisis, I always, or something that stresses me out, I kind of think, what's the opportunity within the crisis?
Yeah.
And parking, not this isn't related to the Joel bit, but the personal thing that was going through the divorce, it was like, this is fucking terrible. Like, I didn't see this coming. I've now got to deal with this. And retrospectively, incredible things have happened in my life, and I've met my partner at the Villa, which she's absolutely fucking amazing. We run the supper clubs together, and like, you know, we're very, very settled, and things are wonderful between us.
Yeah.
And she's very, very special. And all these other things that have happened wouldn't have happened if I'd stayed in that world. If you know. And even geographically, like I was living in Romford, which I lived in for 34 years. And now living more in central London and that kind of thing, the opportunities that's created, the Groucho stuff, and all the other stuff. So, you know, I'm not saying it was a blessing in disguise because it was a horrible day from that aspect, but it was just the most fucked up day. And Russ rang me the next day, so I sent a message saying this is what's happening. Russ rang me the next day, and like, and it was just a fucked up time of my life. And you know, I remember having a conversation with a mate, and I felt really guilty about it when I said it because I was just like, I guess I was clutching at straws, but I was like, well, at least I can kind of spend more time on the podcast, which I kind of thought that's such a shit thing to say. But
no, but it's allowed you to now allow that to flourish. I mean, I'm going through a similar kind of thing now.
Yeah.
I'm going through a divorce, came out of a relationship in an environment maybe where I wasn't able to grow or live to my full potential, not being able to do stuff. And now I'm kind of in my own environment, and I've got the freedom to do this as much as I like and build my other businesses and stuff. Whilst, you know, it is a very difficult thing, I've got no doubt that it is probably the best thing ever to happen to me, you know. And it is how you, as you were saying about mental health and stuff, it's how you reframe these things. But going back to, so when you were saying it, I had a little chuckle. We went to a gig in Hammersmith. It was the first time I'd seen Oasis at their peak in a small venue.
I think I went that night, Hammersmith Apollo.
Yeah. So
I was there that night, that's a great gig.
Turn Up the Sun starts, this is the opening number. I get a text from my mum, whatever's in your Xbox is now down the toilet, she found RFO. At the time I was knocking out
really?
thing, and I was like, and then I was consumed by like beer that I couldn't enjoy it. I couldn't enjoy the gig. So when you said that about being at a gig but not being able to enjoy it, I just relived that fear, and I was like,
it's a shame, man. I was at a gig, that was a fucking great night. That was what I did that night was, it's really hard to get down the front for an Oasis gig, but if you go to the side of the stage that Gem and Andy were on, it was actually really easy. So I ended up round the front because everyone goes, right, I'm going to be right in front of Liam, right in front of Noel, and you just kind of get this really easy route. So I managed to get right down the front for that. That was a good gig. That was a good gig. So yeah, some heavy shit happened on that day in Rome.
Yeah.
But it was, you know, I genuinely say there was some of the happiest moments of my life happened on that day as well.
Yeah, it's mad. So bittersweet, man.
Yeah.
And they say, you know, like that it's almost like yin and yang. You know, you got the good bits, the bad bits, and it's, you know, it's life at the end of the day, man. Cool. So off the back of Stage Left podcast, you've now developed Stage Left Nights, and you know, and where did that idea come about? When did you decide to kind of branch out? So you started to get some traction with the podcast. That's now growing at a steady rate, and you're getting Sheryl Crow, you know, retweet your link.
That's 4 years ago. I mean, we've had like Ricky Gervais retweet stuff, and like David Baddiel, and like
amazing.
I mean, they're not, you know, they but like all bands, and you know, I'm trying to think. It was the biggest retweet, I can't think, but I mean, so that kind of stuff has happened kind of gradually over the years, but you know, which is great. I tell you, the biggest thing that happened in regards to so the Bowie thing was big, but also like Fox News did an article as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was like on. We did an episode with a guy who is still in Guns N' Roses, called Richard Fortus, and he let slip that they would release, you know, recording new material, and that just went massively viral. And this will happen with your podcast. Like someone will say something or do something, and you don't want to trip them up. You know, always check with the artist that they're happy for everything. I always say you've got a final edit of anything that goes out. And I have had to edit stuff out in the past that they didn't want to go out, and that's fine. Fox News and being in Daily Mail. I hate fucking Daily Mail, but at least you know you're getting decent, credible fucking source, you know, because it's coming from me. But yeah, so Daily Mail, like national papers, and the one that was a bit tricky was, I felt a bit sorry about it, was the episode I did with Paul Gallagher. It got picked up, and then there was a story that went a bit viral. Yeah, so it's a little bit tricky. That I know it upset Paul a little bit that an article was written about and misquoted.
Oh yeah, they take a certain aspect of it, and then.
And I do know that upset Noel quite a lot.
Oh really?
And that damaged their relationship.
Oh shit! Yeah, because I noticed that he's not as friendly as anymore. I hope that wasn't the catalyst.
Yeah.
But...
No, I was told by one of Liam's band that Paul had appeared on a podcast and he'd said something that upset Noel, and Noel banned him from his gigs. Yeah, and we know that was.
Oh shit!
Yeah. So hopefully they're all right now. But yeah, thanks, man. Hopefully they're all right now, but you know, so you got to be a bit careful. You don't want to upset people.
Yeah. But then you, at the same juncture, you can't control what's reshared. Do you know what I mean? And in what context they report it. Do you know?
That is something that's a bit scary. Oh, so like here's a good one. It's a Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers responded to one of my tweets, and it's a scary world when you wake up because the time difference lives in America, and there gets to a point where notifications on Twitter. You don't get all them. They just stop telling you about a notification that one tweet because there's too many. Yeah, I've only had this once or twice, and it's like, fuck. And then he actually, then like people were abusing you and stuff like that, like just Red Hot Chili Pepper fans are just like.
Really?
Yeah. It's just
well, what context was that then?
It was just, I just wrote about something to do with, like, I love your backing vocal on something, and he responded, but it was his first tweet in like 2 years.
Oh, really?
It's really fucking weird. I swear to you, and like
this is like you're fucking in the right place at the right time for all of these different things.
Well, maybe, but
it is.
It was.
You can't, like, fair enough once or twice, but if it's consistently happening, then you're obviously doing something right.
I think that's probably just coincidence, but yeah, I mean, yeah.
There is no such thing as coincidence.
No. I'm more of a fate man.
Yeah. 100%.
I think Mr. Echo.
Like, you can't keep getting it right time and time again. You're in the right place at the right time as many times as possible. And because you've got a good reputation and you're building a good network of people, it's, as you've already said, it was other people recommending you to all of these different artists. So you're evidently doing something right. And you're probably the only one podcast, probably within the UK, in that kind of music genre that I've consistently listened to.
Yeah, that's
you know,
good.
And that was even before I met you. So when they said, "Oh, that's Chris from," and I was like, "Piss off!" And I was like, "Seriously, I had to come and say hello." Do you know what I mean? Introduce myself, and now here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
And now I want to come to one of your nights.
Yeah, do. Yes. So the Supper Club's great. So where that came about is the Villa, my partner, is, as I say, an amazing award-winning chef, and people come for the food, right? So, like the food, I'm not just joking. It's like we had people at Jess's one who went, "That is the best meal I've ever had." And I've gone, "Oh, that's really kind of you to say." And they were like, "No, that is the best meal I've ever had." And they're Oasis fans. So
and it looks it as well. It's like proper.
She's like, so she did the equivalent of a chocolate making degree in Bruges. And she's a pastry chef who's learned the skills of being like an all-round chef doing those stuff. And like the amount of like last one we had like people like that's the best pork belly I've ever had, and like that's the best meal I've ever. We have that all the time. And I'm not just saying that.
Yeah.
So people come firstly just come for the food, but also.
Do you ever get home and you've got nuggets and waffles?
Yeah, we like our dirty food. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
a bit of beige.
Yeah. Oh mate. Yeah,
or is it every night just like?
No, we had a Domino's last night, so it's fine. Yeah, and she loved
amazing.
it. She had like chicken dippers and all that. So yeah. So we love all that stuff as well. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very lucky to be with something like that. And so she wanted to run a supper club. That was her dream. And I was like straight away, my business head was like, okay, so what's the USP? What's the unique selling point? And then we were just like, initially we said, why don't we do it like a podcast and a meal?
Yeah.
But then the first person we asked was John Watt, and we were like, it was in 1975. It was fucking massive. Like you may or may not like them, but they are a massive band. And he was like, yeah, I'll play something.
Amazing.
Great. And
Yeah,
then again, bit
so
like
then
podcast, like the next one, like I'll play. And like that has had some very, very special.
So
nights.
then now is that what you punt to artists? Say right, so this is the format.
Yeah.
And then
we pay well. I mean,
yeah.
So the tickets are expensive,
Yeah.
as you would expect if you're going to have dinner.
Yeah.
With like like five course meal with someone, and people have flown from Sweden for it.
Wow.
People have travelled down from Leeds. I don't know, it's not that far, but it is to be Leeds to London. It's an effort for like just a dinner.
Yeah.
But it's because you get to watch someone play your favourite songs in front of you. We've had people in tears because imagine like a band you really love, and they're playing your favourite songs right in front of you. And we've had a lot of that.
Amazing.
And yeah, we've had loads of cool people do it. And the special one for me is I remember 6 months before we did it, there's an artist called She Drew the Gun, who I'm a big fan of, who Pravilla, my partner, was in the kitchen doing some cooking, and she was dancing around and singing to one of her songs, and within 6 months, Louisa from She Drew the Gun was playing that song in our lounge.
Amazing.
It's like priceless.
Okay,
absolutely
no coincidences.
Yeah, maybe. So Mr. Echo in Lost said, never mistake fate for coincidence. Or did he say, no, actually that might be wrong. Maybe it was never mistake coincidence for fate, that was what it was. Yeah, never get them too confused. But yeah, so the supper club's going well, we've got loads coming up. But we're moving soon, it looks like we're going to move to Clapham, so we're just finding a
place
venue
that's big enough.
And we've had offers to do them on bigger scales.
So do you have it in your house?
Lounge.
Yeah.
In our house.
So where you live?
Yeah.
So when you're looking for a new place, you have to make sure
it's
it's
the right size.
Yeah.
Mate, on my phone right now, we're literally, she's sending me through, probably there's 5 right now on Rightmove and like Open Rent and stuff.
Yeah.
And the criteria has to have a dishwasher, because there's so much washing up and it fucking drives me nuts when we haven't got a dishwasher at the moment. Criteria is got to have a dishwasher, got to fit enough people for a supper club, and got to be nearer to a station so that people
will come to the supper club.
And so we've got John Watt doing one on the 16th of October, doing one a tribute to John Coltrane, like a sax player.
Wow.
We've got so Mo Pleasure is doing one on the 1st of October, so that's quite soon, and he's going to play like Michael Jackson songs that he played at the last rehearsal and stuff like that. Yeah, which is going to be fucking amazing.
Yeah. So if there's any MJ fans out there,
a lot of MJ fans are going to, and I've got to deal with the fact. So he came on the podcast and we've talked about. It's a delicate conversation, but I say, Finding Neverland documentary, or no, Leaving Neverland documentary.
Yeah.
How has that impacted you as a business?
Of course.
It's quite a big thing, and I'm a little bit worried. Advertising something with Michael Jackson in the title at the moment is a delicate kind of ground. So, I hope that we'll sell their tickets fine. I think because he's big enough name and he's got a big following, and he hasn't just played with Michael Jackson; he's played with everyone.
Yeah.
So they're quite good nights, and lovely to come to one.
Yeah, I will. When's Jess going again?
She said. So when she originally was going to be October.
Yeah.
But it's dependent. Basically, who's the person who's calling the shots on dates in her diary?
Yeah.
It's Noel Gallagher.
Yeah.
Who's the second person? Gavin.
Yeah.
So it's got to just work around. But she's up for doing it.
Yeah.
Audrey says she's up for doing it as well.
Oh, wicked.
So that'll be interesting. So I'll let you know when that is. So we just
definitely.
I spoke to Jess yesterday.
Yeah. How much are the tickets?
It's dependent on the event.
Oh, okay.
I would say Jess's. The last one we did for Jess was £100 a ticket.
Cool.
Which you're only getting. You're getting a 5-course meal and booze and Jess playing literally like touching distance, and there's only 8 seats. Yeah. And that's why it's got to be that amount also, because we pay the artists as well. So one of the reasons people want to do it is a lot of artists, you'd be surprised how many artists play unpaid gigs, like at that level. A lot of them do. And what we do is we just basically say, like, we take the cost of the ingredients out, and the ingredients from the borough market, and then we split it 50-50 with the artist, because it's 3 days work for us essentially putting it together, and we say artist gets 50%.
That's
And
amazing.
they're like, yeah, great, and they get a great meal and everything, and often they're people we know who are just up for a good night anyway.
So it's just like chilling with friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what Jess said actually when she came to the last one. So,
does Gav come as well? Is he involved?
So he did. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm watching them, man. They're electric, like their connection and the way that they just kind of, I don't know, connect, man, is something I've never seen before.
And they played here, didn't they?
They did. Yeah, they did one song, man. But
Goodbye, Mr. Rain, right?
Yeah. Beautiful, man.
Yeah.
And we're currently in negotiation. So Jess has asked me to sing because they've got their new album coming out.
Right.
So she wants to film some more content. So I said I'm happy to do that for free,
nice.
just to come and just to enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? Just to be a part of it. So. Yeah, she says she's back in September. I'm not sure. I know she's in the States at the moment, so we've been WhatsApping and stuff. So really looking forward to that, man. Yeah. So what's the plan? So you're doing stage left nights. You're doing the supper club. You're doing Groucho Unplugged.
Yeah.
And of course you're doing stage left podcast.
Yeah.
You know what? So you're already getting really good traction.
Yeah.
You know, is the dream to be able to do it full time and to be able to pack in the 9 to 5?
Nope.
No. Okay.
No, because I mean, my 9 to 5 is supporting people who are affected by sight loss, and I've always worked in the charity sector, and I feel that everything I do, I want to go towards supporting someone else, and I see, rather than quitting a job and doing that, and I think the podcast does go along to helping young musicians. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
But I don't believe in doing one thing.
No.
Realistically, like, people don't make a full-time living out of a podcast, but what it is a great enabler to other things.
Yeah.
So that would be my like.
Yeah, but you've already established 2 other strings to your bow, and it is just about looking at how you can expand that and building more assets or more kind of branches off of the stage left brand that you've already kind of built, which has already got such credibility.
Yeah, and that, what you just said there, the credibility and the integrity of it can never be compromised. So I think the moment I'd be like, okay, how can I make money because I've got to pay some bills, and see this as my kind of main income stream.
And because you're already mission led, your mission is to educate young people that want to come into the music industry, and to be able to access all of that information without funding, without
I mean, if don't get me wrong, if someone was like, I had an opportunity. I was offered the opportunity to. It was in early talks to do the Guardian's music podcast, but the realistic outcome of that
to be able
is
to
that
do
it was less money than I'm earning.
No.
Like, it's not that well paid. I mean,
No,
it's like, am I going to sacrifice, like, take a 2/3 of my wage or 1/3 out of my wages? And it's just no. At the moment, I'm happy doing. I'm in a really kind of content place where I know that it's been every episode I put out gets listened to well, and it gets good feedback. It gives me the opportunity to do lots of other things. So I see it as an enabler to earning a good income doing other things, rather than being the source of the income.
Yeah.
So if you think of, so I was recently had like a coaching, like I've got a life coach, and she was like, see it as Chris Simpson the business, and then you have lots of different streams, rather than you have different streams and then go, oh, why not making quite so much money out of this thing? The realistic, the world is that Mark Maron, who has the biggest podcast in the world, What the Fuck with Mark Maron, who is so big that Barack Obama, whilst president, went on it and chose to go on that over going on Oprah Winfrey because of the reach he would have. He's got a full-time day-to-day job. Like, it's you can get good stuff out of it, but it's the priceless experiences that is the thing that's I could reel off. Having the respect of my people I respected and looked up to. Steve Cropper, who wrote Sitting on Dock of the Bay, who is like the #1 guest I ever went on there. 74 years old. He said, that's like it's the best thing we've ever done, like my favourite thing we've ever done. Yeah. And I remember when I told Russ that, Russ went, he only said that because he's got dementia. a bit cheeky. But it's. I think that if you get into a mindset of chasing the sun, and like, I think there's a risk that it could compromise the particular mission of my podcast. That's what I would say. I think you can do it with different podcasts, but I know people who've had some of the biggest podcasts in the world and they've got a full-time job. So yes, I mean, I still get a check-in that's not very much every I think they send it every 3 months, which is like so little that it's not even worth mentioning. But it's got 200,000 subscribers and it's had over 1 million listens, and it's had global reach, but it's more of an enabler to, there's other jobs basically, in a nutshell, that I get paid quite well for, that I wouldn't be paid as well for if I didn't have the integrity of the podcast. Bring that to the table. This is what I do. People are like, okay.
Cool. Brill. So what we're going to probably do now is just wrap up with some quick fire questions. I'm going to nip off and get my iPad quickly.
Do it.
So it's just going to basically be some... Did you watch Jess's one?
I did, yeah.
Oh.
Did you get Jess to sign that?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
I might she said to bring it down and get Audrey to sign it because she said she was coming down. But righty ho. So obviously we're both massive Oasis fanboys.
We are.
Favourite Oasis song ever? And I know it's like trying to pick one of your favourite kids.
The Master Plan.
Oh, well, I was going to say favourite B-side, but you've already answered
I Just
that.
Dream.
Yes, that's mine.
I Just Dream, or I always like I Got the Fever.
I know you said that when we met, man, and then my estimations of you plunged.
Went down. I've always had a soft spot for I've Got the Fever.
Why? What is it about that song?
It's euphoric in the chorus, and
was that all around the world?
No, that was a B-side to
Stand By Me.
Yeah, or My Sister Love. It goes into My Sister Love, or the other way around.
Yeah.
The Fame. Used to love The Fame as well.
Yeah, the Fame. But Going Nowhere, man.
Well, that was another one from that session. Yeah. I mean, you could just list endless ones, but
my
Street
Fighter Man was pretty good as well. The cover.
Yeah, but I kind of think. Yeah, I'll kind of take a leave.
Stay Young was probably the best out of that era.
Great. Stay Young's great. I mean, there's so many great. I tell you what, the most obscure Oasis song that not enough people talk about is Who Put the Weight of the World on My Shoulders.
Yeah, that's on the Gold soundtrack.
Which is fucking amazing song with the orchestra and stuff. So that's a bit of an unheard one.
What about You Got the Heart of a Star? That's another one no one talks about.
That's very nice. Yeah, I don't love that one.
It's a little bit Christmassy.
Yeah, I'll tell you about something about Christmas in a little while.
I know. You tell me that.
Did you? Yeah. I'll get myself into trouble, yeah.
I know you will.
Yeah.
Alright, we better not talk about that.
Yeah.
But first record you ever bought?
Morning Glory.
Was it?
And Park Life on the same day. Or was it Park? No, hang on. Was it Park Life? Yeah, it was. That was the album. Was it called The Great Escape?
Yeah, The Great Escape was the album.
Yeah, on the same day.
First gig you ever attended?
Michael Jackson.
Yes, me too.
On the Bad Tour in 1988.
Wow.
And I've got a story which I am actually going to share, which is I'm 4 years old. My brother is 6, and my dad had a box. And I don't know how he got it, or the company he was working for got a box.
Yeah.
And a woman walked in and said to me, "Would you like to meet Michael Jackson?" And I had only known Michael Jackson through seeing a bit of the Thriller video, because my dad had the Thriller video on VHS.
Yeah.
And I was like, Neil Simpson's the only person who's got the Thriller video. So people had the viewing parties of watching this video, and it frightened the shit out of me at 4 years old, as you imagine. Like, it was probably
of course.
Right. So I then start crying and going to my mum, no, I don't want to meet. So then my mum's going, "Chris, you're going, right? Because this is like the greatest opportunity ever." Like,
in hindsight, probably not the best idea.
So I'm hiding behind my mum like this, right, hiding behind her, go, "No, don't let me go, don't let me go." And my mum's going, "Chris, come on, you've got to go." And then eventually looks to the woman and says, "What about his brother?" And the woman looked at my brother, who's 6 years old, and said, "No, he's too old."
Oh, on that note, most interesting person you've met?
Fucking hell, Stuart Lee.
Yeah?
Yeah,
really?
I'd say Stuart Lee. Well, interesting in what... Does it...
I don't know, most interesting, like either podcast guest or even like, you know, in passing.
Most interesting person I've met, there's a great influence on me, a guy called Neil Thew, who you won't know. He was like a mentor of mine when I was at university, and he just had a very challenging life, and he's done like he's like taught at Harvard and stuff like that, and he's just someone who I wouldn't be where I am and doing what I'm doing if it hadn't been for the way he kind of approaches like he got me into coaching and stuff like that. And
Wow.
yeah, he's just a great man. He's had a very challenging life and continues to, but changes the life of other people on a regular basis.
Amazing. Oasis or Blur?
Oasis,
Liam or Noel?
Paul.
Oh, very diplomatic. Mick or Keith?
Keith, I played a guitar that Keith Richards played about 2 weeks ago. I played a guitar that Keith Richards has played.
Wow.
That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
I played the guitar, I was like, fucking Keith
I
Richards.
tell you what,
Daddy's
when I was watching the thing with Jess, I didn't realise that you played the guitar and she sang some songs.
Yeah,
That must have been amazing.
Yeah, that was
Because when
cool.
I suggested it, because I knew that Cast of Shadow was her favourite song, and I said, would you be up for doing a cover? She said, if you play it, and I just sold my guitar, and I was like, shit.
Man, that's a shame.
There's one out there, and I'm not sure, it's my landlord's, and I wasn't sure whether to
when I went to
use it or
Christian,
not.
when I went to Christian Madden's house in Clitheroe, who is Liam's keyboardist,
Yeah.
we were jamming out like Rocking Chair and Some Might Say, which is a beautiful moment because he plays those acoustically on the piano, and then his son. His son wants to sing Rock and Roll Star, but Christian, if you watch their gigs, never plays on that song. He comes on at the end of Morning Glory and plays on the third song, which is normally Wall of Glass. And so Christian's wife and like the boy's mum was just like, oh, do you know how to play Rock and Roll Star? But he's always wanted to do this. So I'm like, yeah, all right. So I'm sitting there. Christian doesn't know how to play Rock and Roll Star. Who's in Liam's band? I play the whole thing. The son's playing all the way through it, and then Christian just joined in at the end where it's like dun 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 dun. It comes in the wrong key. It's like but we rectified it. Yeah, so that's cool.
Lennon or McCartney?
Lennon. I've got a piece of Lennon's front door from the Tittenhurst building in my lounge. It's my most important piece of music memorabilia. But the more I'm learning about the Beatles, you should listen to a podcast called Shut Up, Let's Just Talk About the Beatles. You realise that a lot of things you think Lennon is credited for, the production techniques and stuff like that, like on Tomorrow Never Knows, was all McCartney's ideas.
Wow. Beatles or the Stones?
Beatles.
Black or white?
Doesn't matter.
Amazing. Looks or personality?
Personality.
Arsenal or Spurs?
Spurs.
City or United?
United for the history.
New York or LA?
I've only been to New York, so I'd say New York.
Yeah. Positive or negative?
Positive.
Love or fear?
Fear, because I think you can work with that to turn it into a positive.
Amazing. Peace or war?
Peace.
Who was your favourite wrestler when you were a kid?
Ultimate Warrior.
Yes! Chris, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much. I think we've still got half a bottle of champagne to drink.
Let's enjoy it.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.